First of all, they may say, we are not interested in legislation. But there are others who do, and because of their project, bad things have happened in this country, in the industry. I believe there is actually some liability. Look at this. You have a situation where even if you go for the lyric printed thing in the record, because of the tendency among Americans to be copycats, one guy commits a murder, you get a copycat murder. Now you got copycat censors. You've got a very bad situation in San Antonio, Texas right now, where they're trying to pass PMRC type individual ratings and attach them to live concerts, with the mayor down there trying to make a national reputation by putting San Antonio on the map as the first city in the United States to have these regulations, against the suggestion of the city attorney who says, I don't think this is constitutional. But, you know, there's this fervor to get in and do even more, even more. And the other thing, that if the PMRC starts off talking about lyrics, but when they take it over into other realms, when they start talking about the videos, in fact, you misspoke yourself at the beginning in your introduction when you were talking about the music does this, the music does that. There is a distinct difference between those notes and the chords and the bass line and the rhythm that supports the words and the lyrics. I don't know whether you really are talking about controlling the type of music that kids hear. So just specifically, we're talking about lyrics. It began with lyrics, but even looking at the PMRC fundraising letter in the last paragraph at the bottom of the page, it starts looking like it's branching into other areas when it says, we realize that this material has pervaded other aspects of society, and it's like, what, you're going to fix it all for me?
No, I think what they're, I think they're acknowledging some of the statements by some of their critics who say, well, why single out the music industry? But if I could have just half a minute more, Mr. Chairman. Before we got back into that stuff, you were saying, yes, you do believe that there is a legitimate concern.
Yeah, but the legitimate concern is a matter of taste on the, for the individual parent and how much sexual information that parent wants to give their child at what age, at what time, in what quantity, okay? And I think that because there is a tendency in the United States to hide sex, which I think is an unhealthy thing to do, and many parents do not give their children good sexual education in spite of the fact that little books for kids are available, and other parents demand that sexual education be taken out of school, it makes the child vulnerable, because if you don't have something rational to compare it to, when you see or hear about something that is aberrated, you do not perceive it as an aberration, okay?
Okay, I've run out of time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Rockefeller. Senator Gordon.
Mr. Zappa, I am astounded at the courtesy and soft-voiced nature of the comments of my friend, the senator from Tennessee. I can only say that I found your statement to be boorish, incredibly and insensitively insulting to the people who were here previously, that you could manage to give the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States a bad name if I felt that you had the slightest understanding of it, which I do not. You don't have the slightest understanding of the difference between government action and private action. And you have certainly destroyed any case you might otherwise have had with this senator. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is this private action?
Not alone say that I was surprised Senator Gore knew and liked your music. I must confess that I never heard any of your music to my knowledge.
I would be more than happy to recite my lyrics to you.
Can we forego that?
You probably never heard of the Mothers of Invention.
I have heard of Glenn Miller and Mitch Miller. Did you ever perform with them?
As a matter of fact, I took music lessons in grade school from Mitch Miller's brother.
That's the first sign of hope we've had in this nation. Let's try and get down to a fundamental question here that I'd like to ask you, Mr. Zappa. Do you believe that parents have the right and the obligation to mold the psychological development of their children?
Yeah, I think they have that right, and I also think they have that obligation.
Do you see any extreme difficulty in carrying out those obligations for a parent by material falling into the hands of their children over which they have little or no control?
Well, one of the things that has been brought up before is talking about very young children getting access to the material that they've been showing here today. And what I've said to that in the past is a teenager may go into a record store unescorted with $8.98 in his pocket, but very young children do not. If they go into a record store, the $8.98 is in mom's pocket or dad's pocket, and they can always say, Johnny, buy a book. They can say, Johnny, buy instrumental music. There's some nice classical music here for you. Why don't you listen to that? The parent can ask or guide the child in another direction, away from Sheena Easton, Prince, or whoever else you've been complaining about. There's always that possibility.
As I understand it from your testimony, and once again I want to emphasize that I see nothing wrong whatsoever. In fact, I salute the ladies for bringing this to the attention of the public as best they see fit, and I think you could tell from my testimony that I tend to agree with them, but I want to be very careful that we don't overstep our bounds and try and meet. I emphasize once again telling somebody else what they should see, so I'm primarily worried about children. It seems to me from your statement that you have no obligation or no objection whatsoever to printing lyrics, if that would be legally possible, or from a standpoint of having the room to do that on record or tapes. Isn't that what you said?
I think it would be advisable for two reasons. One, it gives people one of the things that they've been asking for. It gives them that type of consumer protection, because if you can read the English language and you can see the lyrics on the back, you have no excuse for complaint if you take the record out of the store. And also, I think that the record industry has been damaged, has been given a very bad rap by this whole situation, because it's been indicated, or people have attempted to indicate, that there is so much of this kind of material that people object to in the industry, that that's what the industry is. It is not that at all. Some of the albums that have been selected for abuse here are obscure. Some of them are already several years old, and I think that a lot of deep digging was done in order to come up with the song about the anal vapors, or whatever it was that they were talking about before.
So if I understand you, you would be in support of printing the lyrics, but you are adamantly opposed to any kind of a rating system. Is that correct?
I'm opposed to the rating system because, as I said, if you put a rating on the record, it goes directly to the character of the person who made the record. Whereas if you rate a film, a guy who is in the film has been hired as an actor, he's pretending. You rate the film, whatever it is, it doesn't hurt him. But whether you like what's on the record or not, the guy who made it, that's his art. And to stigmatize him is not fair.